The more perceptive among you have probably discerned that we're not doing things like normal today, that we're doing table talks, and we're centering them around the table. We're doing table talks about the table. And we've been doing the father of all sermons, what we're calling the Last Supper discourse of Jesus, where he was about to be crucified and decided that he wanted to spend his last remaining time with his friends around a meal. And so that was the initiation of what they call the Eucharist, which is the Lord's Supper, or communion, which is a ritual that most of us are familiar with, or all of us are probably familiar with at this point. But back in those days, it wasn't wafers in a plastic cup. It was actual bread and wine, and I'm assuming the bread was dipped in balsamic and garlic and oregano because it ought to be. But from the early days, Christianity was centered around a good meal. There's good historical records to show it. There's what we find in Scripture. In Acts chapter 2, it says, they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and the fellowship, to the breaking of bread and prayers. Breaking of bread meant food, a meal. It says every day, listen to this, every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts. And we don't just have biblical references to meals together. There's this exchange of letters between a guy named Pliny the Younger and the Emperor Trajan in the early 2nd century. So 109 AD is when this is going around. And basically there were Christians in Rome that were being persecuted and killed. And Pliny the Younger was reporting to the emperor how he tracked down these Christians and what he did to them once he found them. And he mentioned in this letter that their gatherings were pretty simple. They would come together, he said, and they would sing a hymn as unto Christ as if unto a God. Then they would make solemn oaths not to commit crimes or adultery or fraud, and then they would share a meal together. And that was one of the signs of the Christians, was that they would come together and do those three things together, was a meal. And so we've been talking about as a leadership team, where do we go as a church from here? And I've talked a lot in here about striving and growth and growing the church, and how it's kind of baked into me from my upbringing that we're supposed to go do something. We're supposed to strive and make better and make bigger. And I don't quite think that way anymore, but I do wonder sometimes if status quo and the norm is the way we should go. And so we've decided to double down on community. We decided to double down on meals together. We've always called ourselves a church built around food, and we're going to continue that. So we're reinitiating what we're calling daylight dinners. We used to do this back in the day when we were in the theater. And we're hoping that people will sign up to share meals together. So you'll find a sign-up sheet on your table for daylight dinners. Ask for name, email, phone number. It says number of kids and whether your kids will always be with you, never be with you, or sometimes be with you. And then also we want somebody to spearhead this mission of bringing people together. So the goal is that you sign up, and then once every couple months, we're going to give you a name or names of people that you're going to share a meal with. You can share a meal at a restaurant. You can share a meal at home. You can have a picnic, whatever it is. But it's just pairing people up. And so you may get paired up with people that you already know. When we do these table talks, it's pretty typical for people to sit around with the same people they've always sat around with. It's pretty common that you guys sit with people you're comfortable with. So we want to reach across the table and meet people we've never met, develop more in-depth relationships with people that we have, and so forth. And so I encourage you to sign up for that before you leave. So we're doing table talks around the table. Table talks, and I want to apologize sort of for those that are new around here, because I understand that, especially if you're introverted, this can be kind of awkward and weird. And if you're watching online, we encourage you to either journal or to communicate with somebody that you happen to be with at this time. And we recognize that this isn't optimum for people online, but it just is what it is. This is what we do as a church, and it's here to stay. But there's a few rules around how we govern table talks. And number one is the big nope on monopolies. You're going to find out that you have limited time around your table for each question. Please don't monopolize the conversation. Please allow everyone the opportunity to share. It's also not time for you to air your favorite controversial issue, your favorite thing about race or sexuality or politics or government or money or whatever the thing is that fires you up, that may fire other people up. This isn't the time to be fiery. It's a time instead to be to listening, to get to know one another, to care about one another, and to hear. It's not to say that those topics can't be breached at all, but it's to say just be mindful that we're a reach across the aisle church with a lot of different theological views, political views, and so forth. And mostly it's yup to community. That's the goal. The goal is not that you answer the question well or that you provide the perfect theology around the question or the perfect answers. It's that you hear one another and connect with one another. And at the end of the day, you know your table mates better than you knew them at the beginning. And then you're going to get a yup-ish to the microphone. My son Siler is going to pass the mic. He's actually not going to pass the mic. He's going to hold the mic. You are not allowed to take the mic. And so after each question, we'll ask for a few people to volunteer to share what they talked about or what someone else talked about. Be careful about someone else. Get the permission first. But the mic's going to go around the room so that you can share with the whole of the congregation what was said. So the first question is, you're on death row. There you go. What is your last meal request and why? I'm hearing a lot of laughter, seeing a lot of smiles. That's good stuff. That's what we're after here. I want to give my answer real quick. I think my answer is obvious. It's a double cheeseburger with mustard and extra pickles and potato salad from Rhino's food truck. For obvious reasons. And I don't do sugar, but if I'm on death row, it's the last of my concerns. So I'm doing a caramel apple pie and creme brulee ice cream from Homemade Ice Cream and Pie Kitchen. For sure. I used to eat like one of those a week, and it was bad news, real bad. But on death row, it doesn't matter. So who wants to share their answer real quick?
Bowl of Raisin Bran.
A bowl of Raisin Bran. Why? I would peg you for that answer, actually. I would have had you pegged for that. Anybody else?
A large hometown cheesy breadstick.
Nice. Yeah, you're on death row, bro. Go all out. Anybody else want to answer? I think you can feel free to answer for somebody else on this one if you found a creative answer. Hamburger helper gets shouted out from the back of the room. Some Quan?
I want a bucket of popcorn that is so buttery I have to wear gloves to eat it.
Nice. Movie theater popcorn? All right. Next question, which seems apropos for this gathering, is: are you an introvert or extrovert? So we're going to define them properly. An introvert, they get defined poorly often. As an introvert is someone who doesn't like a crowd or doesn't like to be around people, and an extrovert is somebody who does like to be around a crowd or likes to be the center of attention. And they actually typically have to do with how you recharge. And so it has to do with whether people drain you or inspire you and encourage you and fill you up. And so if you're an introvert, typically you recharge alone and people suck the life out of you. If you're an extrovert, you typically recharge in a crowd and people give you vigor and strength. And so which are you, and then how do you recharge? What do you use to get rest, to recharge yourself? Who would like to share their answer? What extrovert would like to share their answer that they're an extrovert?
Yes, so I would say I'm definitely more extroverted than introverted. In terms of recharging, I really do like to go out and do activities and talk to people. I probably like to keep it more on the surface level of things that, meeting new people, doing new things brings that level of recharging and excitement to me. I'm more introverted with close friends, whereas I, will do deeper conversations, more meaningful activities with a select few people, but I love doing things in large crowds like Louder Than Life or concerts or festivals or things like that.
Thank you, Dean. Anybody else?
I'd say I'm a little bit of both. Sometimes I feel like people, and sometimes I don't.
I relate to that deeply. Anybody else?
Yeah, I just said that I think it's tough to talk introvert and extrovert because it really is a scale. And I mean, people fall at different points because Bill, I'm going to tell because everybody knows, but Bill's an introvert. And so he looks at me and he says, "You're a total extrovert." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. It depends on the group. Like here, I'm really comfortable because I know you guys. So yeah, I'm going to be more extroverted. But, if I plunked myself down in a brand new church where I didn't know anybody, I'd be more of an introvert."
I'm a social introvert, which means I'm comfortable in social situations. I'm finding as Parkinson's progresses, that's diminishing some. I'm a lot less comfortable and more socially awkward, like right now, for example. But as far as I recharge, even it's horrible, guys. You guys are talking around the tables, and I'm pacing on the side, and this will still exhaust me because of your energy. Like just being around people will suck the life right out of me. So this afternoon, I'm going to go home, and I'm going to make myself... Quan, I was talking to Glinda, and she said, you can't have popcorn. And so the death row thing was a good choice, but I'm going to go home and make some Amish popcorn after this. And in your honor, bro. And I'm going to watch the Broncos hopefully beat the Eagles, and that's how I'll recharge. Amish popcorn. So the Amish grow their own popcorn, and you can order various flavors, and we make them stovetop, and you can order 10 packs of various flavors like Midnight Blue and Ladyfinger and all kinds of different types. Midnight Blue is chef's kiss. Next question, what kind of table, so we're going to get a little deeper here. What kind of table do you want our church to become? Who do you want to see seated here? Who would like to share? Who would like to share an answer?
Is it selective? I have always wanted to invite my old manager from the liquor store I worked at, him and his wife, and just a couple of other people that really mean a lot to me. But as I was sharing with the group, I really like this church to stay small. I like that I know each of you individually and your likes and your dislikes, and you make me want to come here. So I will grow, but just in small increments. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hey, I'm new around here. This is a pretty pertinent question to the last couple weeks. So I just recently found my faith again after like 20 years. I was very much like a front pew kid, kind of like quote the Bible, King James Version only, like all these like very dogmatic like Southern Baptist things. And I was looking for community, and I ended up in a Bible study last Sunday, or the Sunday before last, and we were talking specifically about Scripture, about meeting together with people, and everyone in that room said something like dogmatic about what I should do and what I must do, and I immediately texted H after that. By the way, I met H like 12 years ago or something after I saw something on Facebook, and I'd been watching Vimeo for a while, so I've been around, just not in the church. But I texted him, and I was like, I just want to let you know that your church is not like that. So thank you for not being a church like that and for being welcoming.
Jordan?
I think we need a church that is going to advocate for those who are being judged and those who are being treated horribly. People who have been, for lack of a better word, again, judged by the church before. I think that like our table needs to be a table that is open to all people, people who are wanting to seek Jesus, but feel like that they cannot belong. I feel like the table needs to be a table that says you belong.
Yeah, that coincides with my answer, and I think it would be the answer of a lot of people in here. We advertise sometimes as a church for not so churchy people, and I pray that we're a refuge. And when I think of a refuge, I think of something that people run to. And usually people that run to something are running from something. And so whether it's judgmentalism or fundamentalism, or if they've been running from God for a long time, or they running from abuse or running from addiction, or I want a place where people can feel safe. Like they walk through the door and there's an aura of safety. And when we talk about being a church for not so churchy people, it doesn't mean that churchy people, if you love church and love churchy, the trappings of church, that's great, because we need people who are churchy that are for the not so churchy. So a refuge requires people of stability, people that are safe and comfortable. And so it's a mix of people who are running from something, or people who have found something that want to share with those that are running from something. That's who I hope is at our table. Last question. This one can require some real depth and transparency. The Last Supper was a place of betrayal, servanthood, instruction, encouragement, and intimacy. Which of these resonate with you most right now, and why? We're over time, and I want to be mindful of our kids' ministry and them and their schedule, but we have time for a couple people real quick. I'm gonna hold my answer off and let you guys go. So who would like to answer? Kate?
For me, they all resonate. With the youth, we've been reading Acts and studying Acts, and it's really stuck with me, the verses about God has no partiality. Like, how can you call anything that God has created unclean or common? And so the fact that like all of these things, betrayal, servanthood, encouragement, intimacy, we're all at the Last Supper. And, you know, Jesus knew what was going on and what was about to happen, and he didn't uninvite somebody because they may betray him. It's about seeing the person as the whole person. And that, yeah, we're all going to have faults and we're all going to make mistakes. But there are times, you know, we're learning and growing. And Jesus sees us for who we are as the whole person. And we should see everyone for who they are as a whole person, not just an act of betrayal or, you know, something that we don't understand.